Halloween
Forever.
Part 3.
If you're new and you want to follow us over on them social medias, go over to @HalloweenIsForever on Instagram, @HallowForever on Twitter, whatever the hell. Just go search Halloween is Forever. You'll see it's a little pixelated, cute little pumpkin guy on there. Follow us if you want some dang old spooky ooky shit on the internet every damn day. If you want to join some of our patrons who join us regularly here on the Discord during recording, if you want to get episodes occasionally a little bit earlier, if you want to get access to those 31 days of horror that Steve did all those fantastic write-ups for, or if you want to get access to our monthly Patreon exclusive podcast, go over on the Patreon. It's patreon.com/Halloween's Forever.
How about Bob? How about you tell everybody where they can find you?
You can find our podcast, Hops and Box Office Flops, anywhere you can download the finest podcast. And check us out on Twitter at HOBF. I think that's what it is. Hold on. What is our Twitter? That sounds right. Just look it up. This is usually T-Dub's job. But you can find all of us on Twitter. Captain Cash, Bling Blake, the Thunderous Wizard, and of course, our dear friend, the Sleepy Bear, Mary McCheese. But yeah, it's a fun podcast. We talk about bad movies and usually good beer. And we drop new episodes every Friday. So Hops and Box Office Flops, check us out.
That's Hops and BO Flops.
Yeah,
for the at.
Yeah.
There it is. All right, let's do it. Let's jump into it. Let's get into the last. We're on the last leg here.
What? Is it my turn? What's going on?
Yeah, we're jumping into. Yeah, we're jumping into your flick. We're going into little year next from 2011. So yeah, Bob, take it away.
Yeah. All right. Well, first off, as I've indicated previously, I am fighting an uphill battle here because this was Tom's movie. T-Dubs picked it. I got stuck with it. I had never seen it before, so this was a first-time viewing for me. But I'm going to get through some of the negatives here real quick on the front end, and I'll give a very brief plot description. But this is kind of a paint-by-the-numbers home invasion revenge story, and it involves animal masks, which, again, it was released in 2011, September of 2011. I feel like there was sort of a moment for these kind of flicks. Between this and like The Purge and a couple other things, it seems like there's a lot of like even Saw to a certain extent, a lot of weird animal mask home invasion slasher type flicks. Does that check out?
Yeah.
Is that a thing that happened?
Yeah, the animal mask thing did become a trope. I want to say this was one of the first ones to do that sort of thing. I don't know if I would call it the first, but
yeah, I think it's just a finding mask thing in general, because the other movie that would stick out at this point would be The Strangers.
Yeah.
That's another cabin, isolated, whatever.
Yeah, and that's from 2008. So okay. I actually take this film as almost as an answer to those types of films, because like The Strangers and The Purge were kind of straight up and down.
Purge. Good one. Yeah.
Yeah, they were kind of straight up and down, like home invasions a little bit. Whereas we get a twist in this one.
A couple twists.
We get a couple twists, but like the main one is the crux that one of our victims isn't actually a victim, and like she's far more prepared. It's not it's not a victim who is essentially transformed and is just driven by will, like Nicolas Cage is in Mandy.
Right.
Although he does have a background as well. And it's not like my film where, my character obviously just gains superpowers to fucking take on people.
It's more of a discovery as we go along, the way we find out that what ends up being our protagonist is not your typical final girl. Spoiler. Right. So, again, it's directed by Alan Wingard, who went on to, oddly enough, direct Godzilla vs. Kong and is working on the next one as well. And he also did the Blair Witch sequel / reboot.
Yeah, like 2016 or something.
That's technically a direct sequel to the first film. Yeah.
Yeah.
it stars a bunch of people I don't know except for Barbara Crampton. So points to my movie because Barbara Crampton.
It has a Larry Fessenden, a little bit of Larry Fessenden, which listen, you give me Barbara Crampton and Larry Fessenden in the same movie, I'm fucking there.
And but you also get Ty West as one of the boyfriends in the movie because quickly it is basically a married couple inviting their adult children to their somewhat secluded second vacation home, and I don't know where, upstate somewhere. And so these adult children, attend this anniversary weekend. And there's 3 sons and a daughter, and they all bring their respected loved ones. The daughter's boyfriend is Ty West, who's very famous at the moment for directing both X and Pearl. Didn't know who he was, but he plays the director boyfriend in the movie. A little on the nose, but okay. And then you've got Australian Rashida Jones, goth Justin Timberlake, unfunny Zach Galifianakis, and you've got kind of like the goth Mila Jovovich in it. I don't know any of these people. I could see that. And my big knock on the cast, because the husband and the mother, who's played by Barbara Crampton, who is a fox in this. Holy crap!
She's fox in everything.
A babe. I can't tell how old anybody is. Everybody seems the same age. The dad looks like a mashup of Ron Livingston and Billy Crudup. And his last name is Tucci. His last name is Tucci, but he's not related to Stanley Tucci. He's not.
His last name Tucci?
He's not of the Devil Wears Prada Tucci's.
He's not of the Akuga Beats Tucci's.
But that being said, this movie was made for $1 million, and it does look better than that. I'll give it that.
Yeah, it takes. The thing I like about this movie is it takes, the revenge. Or no, I'm sorry, not the revenge. The home invasion genre, which was kind of blowing up a little bit at the time and becoming that space was becoming a little bit crowded. It does do something to add a unique, obviously revenge tinged take on that, like home invasion slasher thing. So maybe horror, perhaps more than any other genre, because there are so many lower budget movies coming out, and of course, like the whole like exploitation angle is really baked into the genre. You get a lot of copycats. Like you see trends wear themselves out a lot quicker in genre films than in other, in other genres and subgenres. Yeah. So
you can even go Straw Dogs a little bit, like I Spit on Your Grave. Like this is a tried and true, type of home invasion / revenge movie with different twists and all of those. Yeah. But the formula's there. So that's kind of the basic setup for the main plot. I'm sort of jumping the gun here a bit. The movie opens fast. It starts off with a couple. It's a older man with a younger woman. Strangely, she's not impressed with the sex. We do get boobs in the first 5 minutes of the movie. Just really pull you in. And then they are quickly murdered. And okay, so that's how the movie starts. They are these people in these masks, and they are murdering folks. And you get the title drop. Unlike Mandy, not like, 2/3 of the way through the movie effectively, but right off the bat, You're Next is written in blood before the male lover is killed. And then the movie cuts to the parents of our main cast driving to their home up wherever and seeing the dead guy's car in the driveway and commenting that, oh, he must be here. Oh, yeah, he left his wife. He's banging some college chick or something. I don't know. So we now have a little backstory on their next door neighbor and maybe why they were murdered. We don't really know. Yeah. So then we get introduced to like a somewhat dysfunctional family. What we are led to believe is our protagonist is the middle brother, again, with a younger sister, who has issues with his older brother, who's a giant dickhead. The movie goes out of its way to make you hate the older brother to the point that when he talks to the director boyfriend, Ty West's character, he mentions that commercials are his favorite thing to watch.
Yeah.
Which is just such a shitty thing to say. It's unrealistic. The script is terrible in this movie. That's probably the biggest knock I'll give it. Is the dialogue in it is kind of ridiculous.
I don't know that it's bad. I don't know if I agree with that. I think it's
like some bad writing. Nobody says they love commercials. Not even marketing people are like, I love commercials. They know better than to say that out loud.
I would argue that there is a lot of dark humor baked into the dialogue, and that character is like, he's the inciting, like he is the levity. Even though he's a dick and you're meant to hate him, he's like super hateable douchebag. He's the one he's the one who incites all the, the social horror, the social turmoil. You know what I mean?
And he's super self-unaware, so it's like,
yeah. Well, I took it as he's 100% aware. I took it as like he knows exactly what he's doing, and he just is a dick.
Because he knows everybody's buttons to push.
Yeah, he's needling everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. So like if he says I love commercials, there's a good chance like he's saying it in an undertone to get a reaction out of somebody. And maybe not the person he's talking to, but somebody. Yeah. Because he's essentially the successful brother. He's the one that you can assume, especially from the way the film ends, he's the one that the parents love. So like he can do no wrong in their eyes for the most part. And
he's the golden boy.
Yeah, he's the golden boy.
And I do appreciate saying that, like, well, he was doing it just to mess with that poor director guy but he didn't know what that guy's resume was completely at that point. He very well could have worked on commercials. And secondly, that's such an unrealistic comment to make. There's no way that wouldn't have like perked the interest of everyone else at the table. Right. Because it's just such an unnatural thing to say. And the whole shtick in the movie is that the parents are like on his side.
Right.
But I'm sorry. That's just like, that's a huge red flag. Like the guy's clearly being an asshole. And the movie tries to go out of its way to convince you that like no one else is aware of that, except for the frustrated main character brother, who is unfunny Zach Galifianakis. Anyway, so they build in the family tension. We understand what's going on. The goth brother shows up with his goth girlfriend. They seem uninterested. They have the dinner party that we just described. So there's a little bit of baked in tension there. And then the murdering starts to happen. Somebody starts firing crossbow bolts through the windows. It turns into like a sniper scene. It's pretty intense in the dining room. I am shocked they didn't just flip the table.
Yeah, well,
not big table. It gets flipped. It does get flipped, but that would have been my first move. Flip the giant wooden item for cover. But anyway, and then the movie basically goes into a series of like somewhat slasher home invasion type movie tropes where they're trying to figure out like how to defend themselves, and they end up isolated. People get picked off one by one. We get glimpses of the killers. There's 3 of them. They're all wearing animal masks. We have a wolf, a sheep, and a cat.
It's a tiger.
It's like a tiger, yeah.
Tiger.
Mm-hmm. And throughout this, they make some poor decisions. They make some good decisions. But again, they're getting picked off, and there's some piano wire involved, a near decapitation. That was a very interesting decision that they made there to try to escape in that fashion, and it did not pay off. The poor sister runs out of the house trying to make it to the cars and finds that piano wire with her throat.
Yeah,
that was kind of a brutal kill. A lot of this is like family members watching each other die right there in front of themselves, and it's kind of rough. Yeah, a little bit of a slow burn too. There's good pacing between the kills. They don't all happen at once.
Yeah, it's set up in such a way that, like, I mean, the first person that gets killed is Ty West. But
bolt to the head.
Yeah, it's set up in such a interesting way with the family dynamic, because obviously, like, you have the patriarchs and the matriarch, and they're in charge. But like when shit starts to go down, nobody really knows what to do because they're just waspy rich people. Like they don't know what to do about the situation. So they're just kind of making it up as they go along. And that's why they come up with this plan to have like the daughter. She's just I'm gonna prove to my family that I'm the fastest around.
Well,
that's the thing is,
or something.
Yeah.
They can't even like they're all so inept. They can't even stop like having petty arguments when their life's on the line.
Right.
So they play that to a as a kind of a black humor thing, but it's also like these people are so just inept at existing. Like their life is just so charmed that they can't even put this stuff aside when the shit hits the fan. Like when he calls the one guy a scumbag, like the one brother, he's like knows about the fucking cell tower
knows about
jammers
the phone
or whatever.
Yeah.
Which you come to later know why, but at the time he's like, you're such a fucking scumbag. Like in
That's
the moment that he knew what it was.
And yes, and like to the point that when we get to the scene where they discuss the daughter trying to make a run for it, you've got the dickhead brother with a crossbow bolt in his back, still shitting on everyone. Like, even when he's like bleeding out, he's like, fuck you guys, you're all twats.
Yeah. Because he's like, I would be the fastest if I didn't have this bolt in me. And then he's like, he's calling middle brother fat. And then he's so like
strange time to be squabbling, like but to that point, at this point, we don't know what's going on, right? We saw the initial murders at the neighbor's house. Now they're being assaulted. We don't know what's going on. We don't know why they're targeted. There's obviously some friction within the family, but at this point, all the characters that we know are on screen. It kind of becomes more apparent throughout the course of the film that our main character's girlfriend has a special set of skills, right? She seems to be, to your point, Brian, like these people, or I think it was actually you, Steve, that these people don't seem to know what they're doing. They're out of their element. They're these waspy, upper middle class, whatever folks, rich people. But she seems to be the tough one. She seems to know what to do and tries to start to take control of the situation. And then, effectively, we learn that these people have been in the house. They've been there for a while. They've been stalking them. They find evidence of them being camped out in a closet. Barbara Crampton gets murdered in her bed. And then
can we ask why she just went to bed? Like her daughter died and
she's
then
so
everything
overwhelmed, right?
I guess, but it's like
she got the vapors very badly.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm going to go take a nap. I don't know. That didn't sit right with me.
No, exactly to the point that these people are not prepared for this kind of stuff. They're not built for this, right? So a bunch of dipshit decisions get made, and she's killed in her sleep, or in bed, not in her sleep, but she's killed in her bed because there was literally somebody camped out in the bedroom. And the movie kind of picks up from there because you get your first twist when you see the father die. And when he's murdered in front of the goth son and the goth girlfriend, you learn that they're in on it. Yeah. And the goth son complains, like, hey, man, did you have to do that in front of me? Like, I just had to stab my brother. Like, that's what I paid you guys for. Like, whatever. I think that at that point that had already happened. I think so. I don't know.
I think that's a little later.
Is that later?
That he mentioned that he because this is the first time you noticed. This is the first time you learned that the goth brother is in on it. But then later on, he does give. He gives the killers a talking to because he's the one who has to dispatch his older brother.
The point I want to make here is that it's very bold of that brother to talk shit to the murderers.
Yeah, Felix, right? Felix is the one who had hired them, and
Felix.
Yeah.
God
So
brother.
I think the idea he's got this like perhaps false sense of security in that they're not going to do anything to me because if they do, then they won't get paid, because the whole idea is he's got to kill all his family so he gets the full inheritance, and he is,
which I think that comes up in the second confrontation, because that's when they finally do threaten him, because so I think in the meantime, I think this is when they split up, and Felix goth brother goes down to the basement with dickhead brother and finishes him off, while goth girlfriend is upstairs with the middle brother's wife, fiance, girlfriend, former student girlfriend.
Yeah.
And they're basically planting their Home Alone traps upstairs.
Yeah, they're going Kevin McAllister upstairs.
Yeah, with the caltraps there, or caltrops, yeah. Nails and boards. So anyway, Goth brother kills a dickhead brother, and then he has to have a tough conversation with his goons, because obviously things are not going as planned, and in the meantime, I forgot to mention that the Australian girlfriend kills Tiger. She kills
Tiger Mask
with a meat tenderizer to the back of the head.
Yeah,
and so we learn that Sheep is his brother and is very upset and wants now to kill Felix because his brother died for this job and that wasn't part of the plan. And Felix has to bargain with them and say, hey, I'll pay you more money. Like, you can't kill me. You have to let me, live, because if you don't get your money. If we don't finish the job, I don't get my inheritance and nobody gets paid. So then at this point, though, he's also antagonized them because he's like, hey, you guys are getting your butt kicked by a girl. And in the conversation with the goth girlfriend, we have found out now that Australian girlfriend grew up on a some kind of preppers compound in Australia. So she's basically a commando at this point.
Yeah. Though this is the thing that. So I'll jump in and say, one, I don't dislike the other thing they do, in addition to some of the twists and the whole revenge tinge that they put on the home invasion, slasher subgenre. I think the other thing they do that I don't mind is I like that they made Erin it's unique that she was a competent, capable final girl, right? So this would have been
from the start.
And this is a pretty capable thing, or this is a pretty novel thing that she's actually capable and competent. And you always get the feeling that she is either on par or more capable than the trained killers, right? And that obviously in and of itself betrays a genre trope. So I think they executed that pretty well. I think she's believable as this badass, but I did not like the fact that they just explained it literally in one sentence. And it was they you could have learned more gradually, or there's just other ways they could have done it. It just felt very heavy-handed, or just an afterthought that because the way she says it is, I grew up on a survivalist compound. So that's fine. That could be the reason why, but you can give it more than a sentence.
Well, and I think it'll come up here at the end, but she also goes out of her way to mention, oh, and by the way, I have not told unfunny Zach Galifianakis that I did this.
Yeah, what's
that's
his name?
My backstory.
Connor or some shit. I forget. Christian. That's it.
She, and by the way, he doesn't know, which seems like a weird statement at the time. Mm-hmm. But then you understand why later.
Yeah, it has value.
It comes back. Yeah.
The script is pretty clever. I mean, aside from what you're saying, Brian, about everything just being laid out in this one sentence.
I think the structure of the script is clever. I don't like the dialogue. But sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, the structure is clever because you have all of these moments where Erin is doing something capable. She's the one that gets everybody out of the room in the first encounter by teaching them to use the chair as the block. She's the first one to kind of jump into triage mode and, assess everybody's wounds and everything.
Applying pressure to wounds and
So I'm not bothered by the survivalist line when the fact is we've seen her in action already. We've seen, even though she doesn't come out as the leader of the group because there's still the family dynamic, and the family can't even imagine that somebody amongst their group would be capable. So they never looked to anybody else. That's why they're just throwing whatever at the wall to see what sticks.
I think it's very interesting you point that out, Steve, is because I do feel like she held back because she was like, hey, I'm new. And there's obviously a family structure
there's a social horror element to this, even with the awkwardness at the table early on. There's always a social element to it.
And I'm not in a position of leadership yet. You've got mom and dad, and then you've obviously got the older brother who's the chosen one. So we have to hold back. But
Yeah.
when the shit really hits fan, she kind of steps up, but she doesn't take total control right off the bat.
Exactly.
I think again, the structure of this film is interesting. Some of the dialogue is lacking, and like they probably could have done a better way of displaying stuff. But anyway, so at this point in time, we've got one of the three killers dead. You've got the other two being berated by the brother that's hired them, Felix, and they've got to hunt down what's her face, because
Erin.
she's clearly a problem. Erin, yeah, they've got to hunt her down. She's
I like
clearly
to
a problem.
imagine, since she's Australian and she grew up on a survivalist compound, I like to imagine she grew up with the guy from Wolf Creek, and they just took different paths in life.
That was like her uncle. Yeah.
And meanwhile, it's my fault. I forgot to mention this. Like her boyfriend, Christopher or whatever, he had left to go try to find a cell signal somewhere and has not returned. So he's just off screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, while all this is going on in the house.
Yeah.
And, at this point, she manages to basically kick everybody's ass. Before that, though, she hides. She hears what's going on. She now knows the truth that Felix has hired these people. And then that's when, it turns into kind of what feels like the final showdown. This is probably the one scene in the movie that disappointed me the most, which sucks because it's kind of like the quote unquote final fight. After she dispatches the killers, she has to face off with Felix and goth girlfriend in the kitchen. And it's a knockdown, drag out fight. But she finishes it by jamming a blender on top of Felix's head. And the blood in this scene is strangely orangish brown. And there's plenty of other red blood in the movie. So it's not like it was a stylistic choice based on stuff earlier in the film. And then she stabs the girlfriend to death.
Right on top of the head, does the old Walking Dead style kill on her.
Booms. Yeah, right to the top of the dome, which is kind of like similar to the way she killed the guy. So it's a little reductive, whatever. But I forgot to mention, this scene also lightens the tone a bit, because before Felix gets the blender to the head, she splashes cold water on him, and he expected to be burnt by it because we had seen the pot hot earlier in the film. He's like, what? It's not even hot. And then he slips and falls in it. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, is this a Three Stooges bit? What are we doing here?
Come on, to the black comedy. I like this scene. I think because you already had the final fight. The final fight was against the last killer in the basement, which was Sheepface. Which one of them was in the
I forgot to mention that. The weird
with the
strobe
camera.
effect. What setting on the camera is that? Is that a setting on the camera?
I think it was it's a periodic take a picture setting. I don't fucking know about cameras.
Yeah, it's like it's a time lapse. It's a time lapse is what it's doing.
Lapse. Okay. Yeah, that's a fine scene. But yeah, she takes it anyway. So that was definitely more cinematic and tension building than what happens in the kitchen. Whatever. Though,
it's like Mandy. I mean, it's like the final fight. You already did the final fight, and then you have the last little, kind of emotional fight, if you will, against the person who was the architect of this whole thing, which was Felix.
So after the blender head death, after the Walking Dead knife to the skull cap death of the girlfriend, our final girl collapses and sits there, and then Felix, the younger brother's phone starts ringing. And again, I'm doing a terrible job here. Earlier, we'd seen Felix turn off his jammer because, that throwaway comment about, you can get cell phone jammers on the internet. They're illegal, but they're only like $30. There's one in his trunk. And so he turned it off, so cell phones work again. So he's getting a call, and Erin answers it, and it's her boyfriend. And she finds out that, dun, 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 he was in on it too.
Yeah.
That he and his younger brother hated their older brother and their parents so much that they were going to have them all killed for their inheritance.
Yeah.
And then, Christopher comes into the house because Erin doesn't say a word, and he's like, I'm just coming in. And she confronts him, and he says, hey, don't worry. you were never in danger. We were never going to kill you. We needed you. We needed you to be the witness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so you were explicitly an important part of the plan, and everyone else had to die except for you. We needed you to be there. And he's like, see, so this is fine. This is actually even better, because now with Felix dead and just me alive, I get all the inheritance, and we can do whatever we want. We can go to Paris. I can pay off your student loans, whatever you want. Hey, if you just want $500,000, I'll give you $500,000.
Mm-hmm.
And she already knows there's way more money than that, so that's pretty cheap. I think that's probably one of the reasons
he lowballed it there
he
a little
lowballs
bit.
her, and she knows it.
Yeah.
It's so great because it's everything coming together, because she knows, like, she's already stated earlier in the film that she knows he's weak.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
because she knows what a little worm he is, but he's just been a good boyfriend. So
yeah, and I think that was, to me, that's when her character turned, like, and was like, okay, now she's 100% badass now.
Mm-hmm.
Because the scene you're talking about, she's talking with the goth, Felix and his girlfriend, the goth couple, and at this point she doesn't know that they're in on it,
right?
But they're trying to comfort her, like, well, hey, he's taken off. I'm sure he's gonna be good. He is strong,
Yeah.
And she's
no,
like,
he's not.
No, he's not, because I am, and I know what strength is. And
Right.
It's like, oh, that's cold blooded, bro. I was like, okay, so she's like in full fucking, Charles Bronson mode at this point. So he mealy mouth tries to negotiate with her, and then she kills him. He's like, why? Like, why? Fuck you, that's why, or something like that. which seemed pretty gnarly. And she stabs him in the neck. And which I'm like, how are you gonna explain? My only concern with that is like, okay, that understandable, deserved, but how are you gonna explain that to the cops? Or to anybody?
In that moment,
like,
it was
what's
just
your exit
like
strategy here.
Yeah, I think that was like against her better judgment. That was just like the catharsis kill, that she was just like, fuck it, this guy deserves it, and he's gonna get it.
You kind of wanted it to happen at that point, but like, it's not the most logical thing to do. But then here's where the movie jumps the shark. I mean, because it's been a little jumpy up to this point, but so she does that, and then she gets shot through the window by a cop, like hits her in the arm.
Yeah.
And she gets dropped, and then it pans over. She had booby trapped the front door with one of the killer's axes, and she can't say anything, and the cop, for reasons she can't talk, and the cop makes his way around from shooting her through the side window to enter the front door, and like as he opens the door, it triggers the Home Alone trap, and he gets smacked with the axe, and then boom, credits.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like the Night of the Living Dead ending, where they shoot him through the window, because it's a mistaken identity, which that's great. And that's one of the top 10 movie endings of all time, in my opinion. Yeah. So you get a little. I think it's a little homage to that.
Yeah,
but like,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's it's a black comedy, so that's why it just ends on the silliness of like, what are we going to do? Are we going to sit another 25 minutes as they go through the evidence of like, oh, here's all the phone records, and then, she's exonerated. Who gives a shit? Hit a cop with an axe. It's hilarious.
Well, and it's a very untidy. Yeah, it's very nihilistic. It's very untidy ending, and it's just like, no matter to all of her best, she's been thrust into this difficult situation. She's managed it the best she could. She was dealing with all these like snake in the grass assholes. And then, at the end, you just can't anticipate what's going to happen next. And maybe she, figured it out. But literally, she is also the only person who showed up on screen that didn't die. Like, she is really and truly the final girl in this instance.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's her and the cop. Everyone else is dead.
Also, cop's fault for not announcing himself.
Yeah. Messed up. Yeah.
And so one of the big positives for this movie, I will say, is I loved the soundtrack. It added to the tension. It was very Carpenter-esque, like heavy synth stuff. Interesting choice. Worked well, in my opinion.
What's even more interesting about the soundtrack is the soundtrack even switches on itself. So while pretty much in the first half of the film, before we get a sense of who Aaron is, the soundtrack is this really stripped down minimalist, almost similar to Philip Glass, but like it's a lot of strained out tones. You have a lot of long horns. I think they even use like gunshots as percussion at some point. It's a really interesting soundtrack. And then when Aaron starts to take control, then you start getting these, like you're saying, Carpenter-esque synth wave kind of beats in there. And it's like, oh, like the synth is, in a way representing her, and it goes in and out depending on how much control she has in a scene. So it's an interesting thing to listen to.
It definitely swells at times, and it meets the tone of what's going on the screen. And of course, I know you guys are dying to know what that song is they play at the beginning. And
I did look it up. I forgot to write it down, but yeah,
it's a Dwight Twilley, Looking for the Magic. He was just like a middle of the run 70s singer songwriter, Dwight Twilley.
Yeah. I did look that up. I forgot to write it. It's a good song. It's a weird song to choose and keep as like this reoccurring thing. Very
but 70s, power poppy kind of thing. And it's
the best scene of it.
I was waiting for a payoff there, and there really wasn't one.
I mean, the best scene of it, which is not necessarily a payoff at all, is when the killer goes next door, and he had chased one of the, I guess it was the sister, maybe over to the next door and killed her.
It was the wife. It was the wife. It was
the wife of Asshole Brother.
Yeah, Dickhead Brother's wife. You're right. Yeah. And then he goes over there and he's sitting on the couch, and Larry Fessenden is sitting there, and he's been dead.
Yeah. And then one of the killers straight up like Mortal Kombat uppercuts her through a window.
He does. Yeah. It was a pretty mean-spirited series of kills there.
I'm like, holy shit. I mean, this movie's got a lot going for it. I don't think it necessarily like sticks the landing. Like it is definitely a landing. And yeah, I just, I should be talking this up more, but T-Dubs loved it. I didn't hate it. I would have done the blackening because I thought that movie was really fun and smart. And it's also kind of a parody of the revenge tropes. I thought that would have been fun to do. If you haven't seen the blackening, check it out.
Yeah, it's interesting you would have picked that one because I feel like that one doesn't stick the ending. But okay, especially because it ends on a straight up slapstick gag that the film's funny. There's a lot of funny, but like the gag where they get sprayed by the fire hose at the end, that's straight out of like scary movie bullshit. And I was like, that doesn't fit at all.
I think the visual gag itself is cheesy.
Yeah.
Granted. But the setup for it and then the historical context of
I mean, that's all there. It's just the way the gag looks. It looks out of a scary movie, and it's like it doesn't fit.
That's a mid-credit scene,
I didn't like it.
I'm not going to judge that. I think that was a wink at the camera.
Yeah.
No, but in my opinion, the way that movie ends with the joke about the fire department, that's top notch. Anyway, but I would have done that because that would have been a more fun movie to talk about. But this wasn't bad. And I think you basically nailed it with the final girl trope. It is fun to see a final girl that is capable the whole time, and you slowly uncover that because she's put in situations where her certain set of skills become applicable.
Yes. But the villains, the bad guys, never felt unthreatening. It wasn't like a situation where she was toying with them. It wasn't, Kevin McAllister with the sticky bandits, the wet bandits, like where they're just bumbling fools and she's just playing with them. It was there was a battle of wits. And even there was like a scene that I thought was pretty great where like she jumps out a window.
Yes.
And then she goes out the door and then jumps immediately back in a window. And of course they think she's run out into the woods. So they go that direction. So there's a lot of misdirection and just like she's not overpowered. She's just smart. She's clever. Yeah. She's smart. She's opportunistic.
And here's my, I guess So one of the things I like in a movie like this, you have to have good fake outs. Okay. And like the Blackening has a couple of good fake outs, but ultimately it doesn't really do a good job of that because it's not the point of the movie. So I think that's where it lacked. This movie has sort of the same problem. You do get a little like confusion and fog of war in this, but they don't really deliver on any good fake outs. Like you never really think it's somebody in the house, even though there's really no other characters in the film. So who else could you? Right? Because I'm sorry, when I watch movies like this, I'm an asshole. I'm like, okay, so which one of these guys is the killer? Because obviously it's somebody I'm going to see on screen, right? Like that's how this works, right? We know this game. And I don't think the movie ever does a really good job of selling you on somebody in the house being the killer and faking you out with it. Like, I mean, it's clear there's tension. It's clear that one brother's a dickhead. And then there's clear that one brother's dark and brooding. But there's never really any kind of fake outs. And they never do the accusatory thing of pointing fingers.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing
that helps in this kind of movie. When you want to build that level of tension of paranoia, you have to have that baked in somehow. But
Well, you remember this came, only a few years after what was a big box office success for horror at the time, which was The Strangers, which was the trope defying element of The Strangers that would have been very top of mind for people like in the horror zeitgeist at the time, was that it wasn't entirely random but premeditated in that they went out to kill somebody, but who they chose and the like big payoff scene in that movie is when they're like, why us, what happened? And they were like, you were home. That was that was the thing that made that movie scary to people. So for this to show up for the first act to play out the way it did, it felt entirely realistic that it was a random home invasion type of thing a la The Strangers. But then, of course, we learned there was more to it than that.
And to be fair, to your point, at no point did they try to make anybody involved really a bad guy aside from some sibling rivalry.
Sibling rivalry. Yeah.
Sibling rivalry. Yeah. So at this point, like nobody's really a bad actor here. You just got feuding siblings. So it's I suppose in the parlance of its times in that frame of reference, but there are some cool shots in the film. I will say that, especially that opening scene when the young lover is making her screwdriver. Like they went out of their way to shoot that artfully. Not really sure why, but like, a little flex there.
Because it's a nice opening. Like there's there's really no dialogue in that scene. It's just a lot of unpleasant looks, and you can kind of read what the female character is going through, and then it gives you a title screen that's built into the world of the film. So it's nice.
Yeah. Now somebody is not a big fan of foreplay.
Yeah, clearly. I do like. I think one of my favorite shots in the film is when she's hiding, just kind of like in an adjacent room or closet, and like just they have a really strong light leak coming through the keyhole. That's really cool. It's a cool look. I like it.
Yeah. And I guess they shot all of this basically with handheld cameras, which does show in some of the scenes. There's a little bit of like. What I would almost say is unintentional shaky cam. Yeah,
that kind of makes sense because the one thing I really don't like about the film is kind of how muddy and murky it looks for as much time as you spend in the dark. So like it just like all the darkness kind of bleeds together. There's not like strong shadows. There's not a strong contrast.
Everything's kind of like glossy looking, and
the lighting is real flat.
Yeah, so maybe the cameras just couldn't handle a dynamic range if they're filming on like little handy cams back in 2011. That's
2010, 2011. I mean, and that's the other thing too. The movie basically takes place in like 3 rooms, right? You've got like the parents' bedroom, you've got the dining room, you've got the kitchen, and then you've got the outdoors
and the basement.
Oh, and the basement. Yeah, basement. Yeah. So I mean, again, $1 million allegedly, $1 million for the movie.
I can see that.
But it doesn't look that cheap. I mean, I could see this could have been like a 10, 15, maybe $20 million movie. and I wouldn't have known any different.
Yeah, with a couple more names or something like that, it could easily have been that, right?
The gore is not extreme either.
No,
I will say that.
No, the throat clothesline thing is pretty brutal, but aside from that, not over the top.
And not a bit, it's no like Ghost Ship, level of effect. It's a little bit of a neck wound, but yeah. No,
how dare you cite Ghost Ship on this show? How dare you?
I'm just. That's the piano wire kill that I'm most familiar with, right?
We actually do talk about that scene pretty often for whatever reason.
I do. I just want you guys to know I cannot believe I got to participate in an episode. I'm so happy to do so. When I was training for my rugby alumni match earlier this summer, I'm pretty sure I was listening to an episode where you guys did mention Ghost Ship and shat all over it. Yeah, it's definitely.
Did we talk about like in the good scenes and bad movies, maybe, or something like that?
I think probably
talk about that.
That makes the most sense.
Yep, yeah, that checks out. I was sweating my butt off running sprints in a grass field, listening to that podcast in my headphones. So yeah, just glad to be here, guys. Thanks again. So that's your next. It's okay. I'm going to lose. It's all right. I didn't pick the movie.
I feel like Brian and I like the movie more than you do.
We 100% both like the movie a lot more than. Yeah, I mean, so here's how this works, right, guys? For those of you who are new, we've all argued about our movie. Typically, how it works is we all assume, because we were defending that movie, that our first pick of the best movie of the three is the individual movies that we talked about. So normally we then go to our second pick, which is to say, of the two other people's movies, which do you prefer? So Steve obviously got to choose the order in which we talked about them as the defending champ. So he gets to decide the order in which we vote as well. So what are you thinking, Steve?
Before we get on with this charade, I want to mention that this episode is heavily asterisked because of this.
How so?
Asterisk number 1. We did not get the guest that we were supposed to because Tom is a coward and chickened out.
Fair.
Asterisk number. So that saddles.
You're
Bob.
turning from Mr. October into Mark McGuire here real quick.
That's right.
You understand that, right? Barry Bonds.
That makes me Sammy Sosa then.
Barry Bonds with the asterisks. Yeah. So that means Bob got saddled with a movie he didn't love. Asterisk number 2. So even way before, earlier in the week, Bob just messages me and he goes, "Mandy fucking rules." Oops.
Hey, I picked a movie that I know is universally liked,
which is asterisk number 3. Asterisk number 3. We had discussions about Meg rails, and we had put up 2 Meg rails. One of them was that we weren't going to pick Mandy, and the other was we weren't going to pick I Saw the Devil.
We never said we weren't going to pick Mandy.
Yes,
we said we were not going to pick I Saw the Devil.
No, we said both of them because if we take I Saw the Devil off the table, then Mandy has no competition. But I was feeling benevolent because your wife put out a nice charcuterie spread the night before at the party, and I had already made you not pick I Saw the Devil.
Well, that's legit though.
Yeah, she put out the nice Aldi spreads and everything, so I was just feeling benevolent, and I was like, maybe Bob will just like the Toxic Avenger more. I'll roll the dice. I don't think that's the way it's going to go because Bob doesn't even like his own fucking movie. So,
I think,
and also that was also when I was still under the impression that TK was also going to be the guest. But so the voting.
To be fair, though, Tom does love Mandy too, so don't feel too bad.
I don't know all of that for sure. Like I don't know that he loves it more than Toxic Avenger. That's the trick. I knew you guys would love Mandy more than Revenge. Yeah, from 2017. It's a good movie. Go check it out.
I mean, what I would have probably done if I didn't do Mandy, because we said we weren't going to do I Saw the Devil, was I was going to do Blue Ruin, which I think might have taken it anyway. I mean, we'll see. Now we haven't voted yet, so I'm not gonna get ahead of myself here.
It's possible,
but I do see what Steve's doing here.
Again, the asterisks is because honestly, in that case, your next might have won because you and I would have voted for your next.
Potentially.
Possible. Yeah.
Potentially.
So we'll do first votes.
Mhm.
And I assume I know how it's going to go. So we'll just go the order we presented of Bob, myself, or Brian, myself, and then Bob.
All right.
So first votes.
Yeah.
Sticking with Mandy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna take Mandy as my number one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Toxic Avenger because it's a film that inspires everything after it. It inspires superheroes and it inspires
Oh my
fucking
gosh.
schlock filmmakers.
Shut up.
You don't have Street Trash and you don't have Slime City without Troma. You need all of this. You don't have James Gunn. Fuck your Guardians of the
I'll
Galaxy
give
if
all
he
that
doesn't
up.
work.
I'll give literally all that up for Mandy.
Slither,
Yeah,
All this, I still will give all this up for Mandy.
Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, James
One-
Gunn wrote the
one and
Scooby-Doo
two.
movies.
Oh, I thought you meant Scooby-Doo, the original series. Fuck Freddie
No,
Prinze Jr.
But yeah, I'm going to stick Toxie with first vote. And
All right.
go ahead, Bob.
Geez, Steve, it's with a heavy heart. This is the hardest conversation a manager ever has to have. Okay.
You can't do this to me.
Here's the thing. You've been on a tear lately. You're kind of turning into a juggernaut. I feel like
Can't take this away from me.
there needs to be a realignment of the power structure on the Halloween This Forever podcast. And I've got to give this to Brian. I got to vote Mandy. That movie rules. It does.
Steve's
with no shame. I vote Mandy.
Steve's the New York Yankees, and he just got moneyballed.
Yeah,
Eat a
fuck
dick,
the
Steve.
Patriots.
Eat a big fat dick, Steve.
I didn't get moneyballed. I got Charlie hustled.
You got moneyballed so hard. And
Get
here's
Charlie
the thing.
waxed.
Here's the thing, too, Steve. I'm gonna fuck you up. All right, you understand me
Asshole.
right now? You benevolent bastard. You've been over there just winning, doing all this shit, talking shit, for months now. So I've got a punishment for you. Bob, go ahead. You got something to add before I dish out some punishment? Okay.
No, go ahead.
All
I
right.
was just going to pile on when you're done.
All right. So here's the punishment episode for you. This is a movie that I guarantee you haven't seen.
Mhm.
And this is going to make you wish you weren't born. All right. This is a movie from 2012. You can find it on YouTube. The title of the movie, and this is just after Halloween, right? We're just on the edge of Halloween. We're still smoking the resin in that Halloween bowl, if you will. We're still sipping on the dregs of Halloween. So I'm going to do a movie from 2012 called A Halloween Puppy. All right.
Oh, God damn it.
By
What
David
is this?
DeCanto. By David DeCanto. All right.
Oh, no.
Now, you can find it on YouTube in the full-length version under the alternate title, A Magic Puppy. But it's the same movie. All right. It's called A Halloween Puppy. And I'm going to need you to watch it, and we're going to discuss it.
That sounds horrible.
It is truly horrible. But I've already watched
Steve,
it.
I'm so sorry.
I've had this one just in my back pocket. I just need you to experience A Halloween Puppy for me and taste it and soak it in.
Is this animated?
It is not animated. This is a live action movie.
Wow.
From 2012.
Wow.
I think you're going to enjoy it. I think it's going to do you some good. I think it's going to teach you some humility. Yeah, I think you deserve it. So,
Steve, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Well, Bob, I mean, you lose as well. And so you and TK, because he also put you in this position and was a coward, you're both welcome to come back for the punishment episode.
Okay.
But you both will also have to watch. It's called The Great Halloween Puppy Adventure.
oh, there's multiple titles, but you can find it. The original
Jesus.
title, if you look it up on like Letterboxd, it's A Halloween Puppy. If you look it up on YouTube,
Is this like a
it's A
Hallmark
Magic.
Esque movie?
No. Even worse than that. It's called A Magic Puppy on YouTube, but if you look it up on IMDb, it is The Great Halloween Puppy Adventure. It's all the same movie. David DeCoto.
David Ducatu is how I usually go with
Should
it.
I know who that is?
Full Moon Features.
Yes.
Full Moon Features. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Basket Case.
He does. I
He's
mean, he
the
does.
family.
He does a lot of dog shit.
Yes, he did Puppet Master 3, but he has also done a tremendous amount.
I've seen the first two.
Yeah, he's done a tremendous amount of Hallmark-ish type horror movie, or not horror movies, Christmas movies as well. So you'll see some similarities there. This movie is, I don't know how it exists. I think most of the people involved with it would desperately hope that, wish that it didn't exist.
No one ever saw it. Yeah.
No one saw it. You will find one Mr. Eric Roberts.
Yeah.
Is in it.
Hey, I just want to point out that it was only like 3 years ago that I learned that that's Julia Roberts' brother. Like, I didn't know they were related. I was like, oh, this is actor guy on Dr. Drew's rehab show or whatever. I'm like,
right.
Oh shit, that's Julia Roberts' dead ass brother. No kidding.
Yeah.
It's also supposedly Emma Roberts' father, but I think Emma Roberts is a secret Julia Roberts baby. So,
so hey, just real
Cindy
quick here.
Brady's in it as well, FYI, just in case you're
no shit. Steve, did you get a chance to check out Deadbeat at Dawn?
I did not.
Oh, that's a great
I haven't got to that yet.
Extreme outside chance that I won. That would have been my punishment film.
I kind of figured
you hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
Brian, you've seen it.
I've seen it, and they actually did it on the last drive-in. They gave it the full last drive-in treatment. It was pretty fantastic.
And Joe Bob liked it.
Mm-hmm. It is a great guerrilla film. It's one of those movies you watch and you're like, I'm happy they made this, and impressed that they made it on zero budget. Yeah.
Yeah, and much like the Toxic Avenger, it's got some of that same feel to it, and there are parts of it that are better than they have any right to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. There's a few stunts, especially.
But I kid you not. Here's my chance to tell this bad story. So the director and star and writer of that film is Jim Van Bever, and I own it on Blu-ray because you can get that on Blu-ray off of Amazon. He was my literal next door neighbor.
Oh yeah.
He lived in the house next to me in Greenville, Ohio. And I saw him shooting test footage in his backyard with his girlfriend with the boa constrictor, with the snake.
Yeah.
He was shooting that in his backyard. Most of this film was shot, all of it was shot in Dayton, from what I can tell. But he was doing test shots back there. And he was, he was probably 15 years older than I was, give or take. But that was my freaking neighbor. And growing up, my dad always said, hey, our neighbor Jim, I used to see him out there out back, he made a movie. And I'm like, oh, no kidding, And then it got the last drive-in treatment, and Joe Bob did a written review of it at some point before that was a thing.
Yeah, he's been a champion of that movie for a long time.
Yeah, and again, and then Jim Van Bever made his real money directing skinny puppy videos. That was that was kind of his real commercial success. He made a Manson movie that's shitty. I tried to watch it. It's tough to get through. But no, Deadbeat at Dawn, I kid you not, it is worth the watch. There's parts of it that are better than they have any right to be. But anyway, so I'll get off my Deadbeat at Dawn pedestal. But yeah, Jim Van Bever, he lives out in California now. He's kind of a crank, which is kind of disappointing. The guy had talent. He just never quite got that big break he was looking for.
Yeah.
So anyway, that would have been my punishment movie.
That's a fun one. That was a fun one. And you know what? Maybe do yourself a favor. Do a little double feature. That and a little flick we're all going to watch together, The Great Halloween Puppy Adventure, a.k.a. a Halloween puppy, a.k.a. a magic puppy. There's a lot of different titles, but if you're looking up on YouTube, go to A Magic Puppy full movie. You're going to find it.
I was just going to say, how did you come across this?
The depths of YouTube, the absolute just deepest, darkest depths of YouTube is where I found this. And
so
and I started watching it.
You're saying sleep deprivation and ketamine led you to this.
Yes, I was in a K-hole and I started watching this, and I got through, maybe 15 minutes of it, and I was like, how does this exist? And it just gets wackier. There's these really fantastic edits, like cuts. You're gonna like it. You guys are gonna really appreciate it.
So it is directed by David Duchovny, but it's directed under one of his pseudonyms, which is Mary Crawford. And Mary Crawford is like the identity he adopts to do like family films.
Yes,
because I've actually seen A Talking Cat, which is another one.
I love the titles of them. Are just like so on the nose. A Talking Cat.
Yeah.
The one thing I'm now I don't want to say concerned, but I'm interested to learn here is IMDb. I'm noticing has a runtime here of this movie of 120 minutes. Oof. But if you look online, the version that I have watched on YouTube is only about an hour and 5 minutes. So maybe I haven't seen the whole movie. Now I'm interested. Now I got to hunt down a DVD or something for this. Yeah, I'm looking at the DVD cover, and it does say at the top above the title, Brady Bunch's Susan Olsen, which is Cindy Brady, A Magic Puppy. That's the DVD cover. But of course, the title on here is
Google this now.
The Great Halloween Puppy Adventure. Original title: A Halloween Puppy. Guys, get on that puppy game. Get down with that puppy game. We're gonna fast forward here, and you know what? Once we're done with all these motherfucking Fast and the Furious movies, we might just go down a whole puppy. We might go down a whole puppy hole here, guys.
Oh,
who knows?
Gosh.
This might be the start of something really special. All
Mary
right,
Crawford is forever.
Yeah, here we go, guys. Going down that puppy hole. Boys and ghouls, thank you for joining us for our November Showdown episode. Don't worry, the belt is back in its rightful hands. The champ is back. You guys are all fucked. So, anything else I'm forgetting? Steve, anything else I should mention? Go check out Bob and the rest of the crew on Hops and Box Office Flops, where anywhere where you can get those podcasts, search them up on there, follow them on the social medias. Like I said, it's a fun show. Go check them out, Bob. Thanks for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you on. Thank you for tolerating the marathon that is our Showdown episode. I hope you had a good time.
No worries. Thank you for having me, gentlemen, and I regret everything.
Yes, as you should. All right. For the Halloween is Forever crew, I'm Brian.
I'm Asterix.
See you later, puppy fiends. Bye-bye.